They want you to do what you do. They want to come home to it already being done and them not even being disturbed in their life. And they want to know that they can trust you to be in their home when they're not even there.
Kevin, thanks for coming to the call, my friend. Well, I invited you to come on because as we gotten to know each other and talk a little bit about the value of relationships and driven relationships and servant leaders and things that you and I have talked about in the past, I think it's great that you're coming on here and everyone can have an opportunity to understand a little bit more about you and how you drive life instinctually as a person and have built that into an amazing business model through your referral company and just the kind of gentleman that you are. And I hope to have that conversation with you today. So give us your breakdown, my friend. Give us a little bit of experience.
Oh gosh, it's interesting because I was just in a conversation with a couple of close friends yesterday. My friend Brian Kurtz, he worked with Boardroom Reports at the time, 10 years ago, and they were trying to get the Google AdWords platform set up for their business and stuff, and they were just having a heck of a challenge with that. And as Brian's telling me about this, I'm like, have you ever heard of Perry Marshall? Do you know who Perry Marshall is? And he's like, well, I've heard of him, but I don't know him. I'm like, you need to talk with Perry and his team because they can totally help you guys out with this. And so I connected those two guys, and Perry and his team did, in fact, help Boardroom out with getting the Google AdWords platform set up. But beyond that, those two guys just ended up becoming great friends. And about a year later, they hosted this event that they called the Titans of Direct Response. That was a big event, had a lot of, really established entrepreneurs, founders, CEOs at that event. And I'll never forget the day that the first day of that event, I was not in attendance, but I was getting all these messages, text messages and Facebook messages from people who were at that event. And one of them in particular came from this guy, Paul Bingham, who was a friend of mine. And he kind of summed it up perfectly. He's like, Kevin, Brian and Perry are talking about you right now in a real good light from stage and giving you credit for introducing them. And then his comment was, he's like, one never knows where a well-planted seed will sprout. And I was just like, wow. And I was like, I will never forget that experience and how that made me feel. Because I'm just like, dang, that was pretty damn awesome. And that kind of got the wheels turning for me. And I was like, man, how cool would it be to have a business where I got to do that all the time, where I got to be the hero for people like Brian, like Perry, that quite honestly, they were heroes of mine. And so here today, I get to do that. I mean, in fact, that's what we do in Tribe for Leaders every single day. And so that's kind of in a nutshell, kind of what led me to doing what I do. And it's pretty damn awesome being me, Neil.
That is very cool. All right, let's take a step back for just a second. Let's go a little deeper into this and what led you to the initial thing with Perry. Like, give us a little bit about you and your background, kind of what shaped you. Who are you as a man? How did you get to where you are and get to be this guy that I know now?
Oh my gosh. From the time that I was a kid, one of the things my dad, because this was his experience, one of the things that he always told me, he's like, Kevin, the harder you work, the more successful you will be. And that was his experience. And I remember, right out of high school, I ended up joining the military for 4 years. And after that, I was trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? I knew that I wanted to start a business of my own because in high school, I was in this thing called FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America. And that's what kind of lit the entrepreneurial bug under me. And so when I got out of the Army, I was talking with my best friend, Scott, trying to figure out, well, how do I get money together to start my own business? And he's like, we live here in Seattle. And Scott's like, well, gosh, you ought to go get yourself a job on one of those fishing boats and go up to Alaska. Those guys, they make all kinds of money. And I'm like, you know what? That sounds like a good idea. And being completely naive, not knowing any better, that's what I did. I went down to Seattle, hitting the docks at Fisherman's Terminal. I landed myself a job on one of those fishing boats. And for the next 7 years, I spent working in Alaska, on Alaska's Bering Sea as a commercial fisherman. If you've ever seen Deadliest Catch,
I have.
Bunch of those guys were friends of mine.
No kidding. You were a city fisherman. No kidding. That's some rough climate up there.
It is. I'm going to tell you what. I'm glad I'm not doing that job now, Neil.
7
That is
years.
a young guy's game, man.
Oh yeah, that is absolutely a young guy's game. And we got hooked on that show. My wife on Discovery found that show one day, and I think we binge watched all the episodes as we was just like enamored with the whole lifestyle, the component, the harshness of the weather and the climate that they had to deal with.
Oh, it is insane working conditions, long hours, work anywhere 24, 36 hours straight, sleep for 6, get up, do it again. And you could, on a good trip, we could fill the boat in a couple of weeks. If we weren't catching that much, I've been out at sea working under those kind of conditions, working those kind of hours for up to 2 months straight. And
Wow.
and so and I remember, many times thinking to myself, I was like, man, Dad, if you could see me now, you'd be proud, man, because this is some damn work, right?
I'm working the hours, man. I'm putting in the time. That's a tough job. 7 years.
Yeah,
What led to the change? What led to okay, was it just woke up one morning and said, I'm not hitting the alarm clock one more time? Like what happened?
No, there was a distinct experience that happened.
Okay. Let's hear about that.
We were working one day, and we were, you see a lot of bad weather up in Alaska, being a fisherman. And on this particular day, we were in one heck of a storm. It was the kind of thing that you just see in the movies. And of course, my way of dealing with this and dealing with my own fear around that was I would just concentrate on my job, which is to get the catch onto the boat. And you let the skipper, you let the captain up in the wheelhouse. He keeps an eye on the big picture for you. So I'm just working away, and all of a sudden, over the intercom system, I hear the skipper's voice, and he's like, Kevin, duck. And before I could even react, we got hit with what's called a rogue wave, which is a wave that comes from the side. And we got hit with this wave. It picked me up like I was a toothpick and hurled me all the way across the boat into the railing on the other side. Fortunately, I broke my fall with my face. In fact, the scar on my chin is from that accident.
Wow.
My front teeth were also knocked out. One of them was knocked out at such an angle that it was pointy, and so it also sliced my tongue open in the process.
Oh, good grief!
And so I was bleeding all over from my tongue as well. And but when the water had finally subsided, and I figured out what had happened, I mean, Neil, all I could even think was like, thank God that I'm still on this boat, because if that wave would have thrown me just a little bit higher, it would have tossed me right over the railing into the freezing temperature of the Bering Sea. And in a storm like that, that would have been it. There would have been no way the captain could have got that boat turned around in time to get me. And so that was when I made up my mind. I didn't quit right then and there. In fact, there's kind of like this code of ethics, if you will, that is just kind of this: fishermen are a hardworking bunch of guys. And the last thing I wanted to be was the guy that let everybody else down and made us travel 2 or 3 days back to port to take me to the doctor. And so I finished out my contract. We finished out that trip. And that's when I decided afterwards, you know what, I'm done fishing. And so
you finished out your contract with sliced tongue, broken teeth, and a jammed jaw?
I did. In fact, the teeth, my tooth kept cutting my tongue. The nerve was exposed because it was broke so far up. So the cold air was hurting my nerve in my teeth. And because my tooth kept cutting my tongue open, I went down to the engine room and got a file, and I just filed that thing flat so it would stop.
Holy cow. I met some tough people in my time, but that sounds like that's a serious maneuver. This is a kid-friendly show. I was about to say something else. Yeah, wow. See, now I know you were a tough guy, but I didn't realize you were filing your tooth in an engine room on a boat in the Bering Sea. Tough. That's a new one.
So, but wow. I will say that I did make some good money up there. I cringe to think about the hourly wage that I actually made, but over the long haul, over that 7 years, I saved up some good money,
Yeah.
And the following year in '96, I opened my first business.
Okay.
Which was a cleaning and restoration company that I ran out of my home. I had met this guy in Seattle that was in that industry, and I thought to myself, well, gosh, if he could do it, so can I. And so that was I'd like to say I had this grandiose vision about impacting lives and all that. No, I just thought if that guy can make money, so can I.
It was a base instinct. And you know what? A lot of us have that. And others think it's really more complicated. Like we may have this vision now for helping people, or we may have this aptitude now and people see us sort of this way. But from my own experience, that was not part of my plan. It really wasn't. It was just like you. Change a situation that I didn't like, didn't want to be involved, or was very painful, literally, metaphysically and physically, and wanted to do something very different for myself. And it, like, your base instinct kicked in and was like, I want to make more money and I want to work less.
Yes. Yeah.
And so you started this business, this restoration and cleaning business. How did that go?
The first year, I blew through over $200,000 and still was not making a profit in that business.
Well, I'd say it was going pretty well. That's another great learning lesson. That's another great learning lesson.
So this whole idea of if I just had money, then I'd be able to figure this out and be successful. Right. BS. No. That's not necessarily.
No, it's all lies. You're right. That's right. That's right.
And fortunately, about a year into that, I was reading a trade publication for the industry, and there was this article in there by this guy Joe Polish, and it really spoke with me. And one of the things he was talking about, he's like, I can help you get more clients in a month than you now get all year. And I'm like, you know what, I could use some help like that.
That sounds pretty good.
So I responded to that. He sent me out this report. I read through this, like probably about a 20-page report that he sent out, and it really spoke to me. So I ordered his marketing system, and over the next couple of years, with his help, we completely transformed that business into a by referral only company that just totally, we just served high-end households. And one of the other things that we did too was in 2000, we launched this website. There's remnants of it still there. It's probably one of the ugliest websites on the internet, called getmoldsolutions.com. But we launched that website in 2000. And because like now I'd been to this seminar and I heard these guys talking about doing stuff on the internet. And I'm like, gosh, wouldn't it be cool if me, being this little hometown cleaning and restoration business owner, could use the internet and impact and have a conversation with people nationwide and even worldwide? And wouldn't that be cool? And so we started that website, and within a couple of years, by 2003, that website, I was communicating with about 18,000 people when I would send out an email. And that website was producing an extra $13,000 a month or so in revenue for our cleaning and restoration business, mostly on autopilot.
So before you hired him and got his report and his packet and worked with him for those 2 years to turn basically everything into this new opportunity that actually made you money, you spent $200,000. And where did that go? And what was it being spent on? What activities were you doing? What did you change that was so different?
Sure. So we had the initial startup cost of the business. So I had to buy a van and a big cleaning machine and equipment and supplies and all of that. So that alone was about $120,000 of the money, because I just paid cash for that stuff. And then over the course of the next year or so, we spent on marketing. I was doing the phone book that we were in. We were doing Valpak mailers. We were doing all kinds of stuff. And I would look at what other people in the industry were doing. And I would see them advertising like, hey, we'll come and clean 2 rooms in a hall for whatever, $69 or $59 or whatever. And I didn't understand how this stuff worked. And I'm like, I saw them doing that. And I said, you know what I'll do? I said, I'll do it for less. I'll do it for less.
Right. The old sell them for less and you'll make more money deal.
Exactly. I'll do it for $49 and then I'll get all the damn business.
Right.
And we did get business, no doubt about it. We got business from that. It was not the kind of business that I wanted, but I didn't realize that it was all me doing this, you know. And in fact, but my eyes got opened when one day this Harley guy had called me. He was a Harley Davidson guy. He had rebuilt his motorcycle in the living room of his apartment, and he had called me out to clean it up for him. And I took one look at that and I'm like, you know what? I can't help you with this. I was like, this carpet is basically destroyed. It needs to be replaced. I was like, carpet cleaning is not going to fix this. And I was like, what made you call me? And he said, well, I saw your ad and I thought if you were coming crazy enough to come out and try to clean this up for $49, he's like, I could barely run a rug doctor and do it myself for that. I was like, he's like, I just thought I'd give you a shot. And I'm like, okay. I was like, something's got to give. This is not what I want to be doing.
This is not the right path. The race to the bottom pricing isn't the way to do this, right? And obviously, you hadn't defined your avatar, but he was helping you understand who your customer profile was, huh?
He did. And in fact, the first time we spoke, and I told him what was going on, he kind of starts chuckling. And Joe was like, Kevin, he's like, you're just asking to be abused, man. He's like, you got to fix that.
That's a great way of saying that. How many business owners are literally asking to be abused by their clients?
Yes. Yeah. And then he asks me, he's like, well, who would you really like to be working for? And I say, Joe, I would like to work for these people that have these big, beautiful homes. That when you look at their carpet, it's not even really dirty because it doesn't look visually dirty. It doesn't look like the Harley guy's place, because they maintain their carpet. And that's the people that I want to work for. And he's like, those people, they're not going to respond to the $49.95 advertising coupon. He's like, there's different things that they respond to. And he's like, they want to trust that somebody can come into their home because, they don't want to be inconvenienced. And so for them to not be inconvenienced, they want you to come into their home when they're not there. They want you to do what you do. They want to come home to it already being done and them not even being disturbed in their life. And they want to know that they can trust you to be in their home when they're not even there. And I'm like, he's like, are you talking to any of that? I'm like, no, I'm talking about $49.95 carpet cleaning. He's like, you have to change your messaging in order to attract those clients.
You follow the masses into the mosh pit, as I like to refer to it. And it's one of the things that I'm glad that you're talking about today, because we resonate with this in the e-com and the business world side where we are, is not to just get into what I call the mosh pit of sales where everybody else is. I mean, you talk about value pack and marketing campaigns and yellow book cold calls. That's kind of following the masses. And we talk about it in terms of the way you produce products or you produce inventory for products and branding that is trying to serve a market. It's just only price driven. That isn't value driven. They aren't solution driven. And so what you're telling me is that you had a business and you didn't change the entire business or go try something completely new. What you did was you leveled up your business to a different avatar, doing basically the same thing you were doing for the 49 people, but charging them how much now?
Oh my gosh, we were getting paid $300, $400, $500 to go out and clean in the,
for the same equipment, same truck roll, same person. You are now charging $300, $400, $500 for something you once charged $49 for. How did he help you reshift that marketing and thinking? Because obviously you were in a scarcity mindset. You were thinking, I can get more people and I need more people and I got to make more money and I got all this money invested and I need to get as many as I can. So I'm going to charge $49, which most people may not acknowledge is a scarcity mindset, but it is. It's not an abundance mindset. They think I'm going to serve a bunch of people and that's abundance, but in actuality, you can't serve somebody when you're going broke.
That's right. He taught me how to implement package pricing. He's like, instead of giving people a yes or no opportunity, when you're talking with them, he's like, you want to give them the opportunity to choose between you, or you. And he's like, give them 3 options. He's like, even when you go out to speak with them, you're going to do what's called a carpet evaluation. And he's like, you're going to walk around their home and you're going to address their concerns and do all of that and let them know what you can and cannot do for them and set those expectations up front. And he's like, and by doing that, he's like, because the other people, the $49.95 guys, they're not doing that. They don't have time to do that. They can't do that when they're doing $49.95 cleaning.
That's right.
And he's like, you're going to create an impression. And then when you give them the option to choose between which option they want, he's like, now they have this choice. And he's like, you get to then charge what you are worth, not, and not the other way around of just trying to get your foot in the door at the cheap price and stuff. And so I will tell you at first, Neil, the first time I ever went, I can still remember exactly where that house was. It's not that far from where I live now. I know right where that house is. The very first time I ever went out and did that, and I was nervous as hell. I was
Yeah, I
nervous
bet you
as
were.
hell, and because this was something new for me. But
Yeah.
after doing a couple of those, and then I remember the first time a person took my top end package, which was it was the full cleaning with the protection and everything, and it included a HEPA vacuum with it. And so just the HEPA vacuum alone added $500 and some to the bill and stuff. And so the bill itself was like $1,300 and some. I was, and they were like, yeah, I want to go with that package. And I was just like, I was like, okay.
Yeah, let's do
and,
this.
and I'm like, but I mean, there was such a lesson in there
Yeah,
about, it's about providing value. It's about what does somebody else place value on? And then you speaking to that and let them know and give them the confidence to let them know that you can deliver on that for them and stuff. And
absolutely. Well said.
so it's all in communication.
It really does get down to it. You changed the communication, which changed who you were speaking to, and a whole different person with a whole different solution-oriented mindset. As you mentioned, they had nice carpets. They took good care of it. And so someone might be thinking, well, why did they want to spend more money with you if they've already cleaned their carpets? But what was the answer to that, right?
So here's the thing: these carpet manufacturers, the carpets, these nice carpets, they have warranties on them, and those warranties require regular maintenance. And the carpet manufacturers spell out what that maintenance looks like based on how much traffic is in your household. And so when you start talking to the consumer or the homeowner about their carpet manufacturer warranty, and like they want to get the longest life out of their carpet, and in order to do that and make the warranty intact, keep that warranty intact, it requires regular maintenance. And so now you're educating them. And they're like, oh, wow, you know what? Yeah, I got the warranty, but I didn't realize that there was stipulations to that. And so, yes, I do. I want to make this carpet. I mean, this carpeting cost us a lot of money. And I want to get the longest life from this. And so, yes, I will, now that you've informed me and educated me on this, then I'm going to go with your recommendation. And so we're going to have you in here doing our high traffic areas every 6 months. And we're going to have you come and clean the whole house once a year. And because we want to keep that warranty intact. And the other, one of the benefits that we offered was warranty claim assistance. And so here's the thing, is like that cost us absolutely nothing to offer that. But yet it was such a huge benefit to the homeowner, to the consumer. And all it was that we kept track of everybody's records. And we kept track of every time we went out and did maintenance on their home. And so that if they ever did need to put a claim in against the warranty on their carpet, we had all the records that they needed to prove that that carpeting had been maintained. And so something as simple as that, and we just called it warranty claim assistance. If you ever need that, we will help you with that. And that was such a big benefit to them. That was a big selling point that cost us absolutely nothing to deliver on.
So you have a situation where you spent 7 years as a working man, working with the concept of a lot of hours will make me a lot of money, and then changed literally your mindset and understanding through a business coach, it sounds like, who helped you understand how to spend and attach the right avatar. So obviously you grew that business, no doubt about it, and it leveled you into eventually meeting Perry Marshall. So how did that business come into play with what you're doing today?
So I met Perry Marshall at a seminar in 1999. He was doing some stuff on the internet at that time, which that's when I saw that. I'm like, oh, that sounds really cool, and I'd like to do that. So he was the impetus and the motivation for me starting my first website. So we started that website in 2000. By 2003, it was producing an extra $13,000 in revenue for us. Joe Polish was like, in the spring of that year, he was like, hey, why don't you, he hosted this big annual event every year for the cleaning and restoration industry down in Phoenix. He's like, why don't you come down here, the big annual event, and show everybody what you're doing with your website? And I'm like, all right. And he's like, and before you come, be sure to document what you do and how you do it, put it into a course, because there's going to be a certain percentage of the folks here who will want your help, and just make sure you're ready to give that to them. And so I did that. In November of that year, I went down to a seminar, I spoke, I just shared everybody what I was doing with my website, and I just said, hey, if this resonates with you, if you feel I can help you, I'd love to do that. Here's what that looks like. Here's what the investment is, and we sold $35,000 worth of that course, and
Very
without
nice.
realizing what I had
Yeah.
even done.
Right.
Looking back, I understand, but what Joe and I did was a strategic partnership. He had an audience of people. I had knowledge and insight that they would find valuable, and he was just like, why don't you come down and share? And so through that, we provided more value for more people and got compensated financially for that. And that experience opened the door to in fact, it also started a whole brand new business for me. Because the following year, just a few months later, April 19th of 2004, I sold that cleaning and restoration business. I moved into the training company full time. And over the course of the next 13 years, we sold over $16 million worth of that training. And I did it all through strategic partnerships. I partnered with all kinds of people like Joe, who could help me get my message out. And then they put me in front of their audiences, whether it was in person, whether it was virtually. We did teleseminars because, back then webinars and video wasn't a thing. We did it over the telephone.
Teleseminars. Yeah.
And so, but through that process, I just created so many relationships with so many amazing entrepreneurs, and along the way, I was always trying to figure out, well, how I can help them. In fact, that's how I ended up having that conversation with Brian Kurtz. Was he got introduced to me. We were having that conversation. I'm like, oh, you need to talk with Perry. And like running that business put me into so many conversations with so many successful entrepreneurs. And I created so many relationships along the way that it totally set me up for what I do today without even me realizing at the time. I was just kind of just doing my thing, and it just paved the way for what I get to do today.
So get to do today. That's a great way of saying it, not have to do today. Obviously, that's a shift in language. And you obviously enjoy what you're doing. Tell us a little bit more about that. What is Tribe for Leaders, and how is that relative to maybe somebody who's listening today?
So Tribe for Leaders is this community of these amazing entrepreneurs. Right now, I think we got 47 members, and every one of these members they already have successful established businesses where they're making a big impact in this world. And here's the cool thing about entrepreneurs, founders, CEOs. They all want to grow their business. They all want to add more revenue to their business. But what they really want, what motivates them most, is they want to make a bigger impact in this world. And the revenue, the income, is what allows them to continue growing their business and fund that business, and also in many cases fund their philanthropic work that they do as well. But it all leads to the impact. That's what the real motivator is for them. And what I do is I'm just really good at bringing the right people together, giving them a place to openly connect and share with each other. And I just say, hey, if I put revenue, if I put $100 in your pocket, would you be open to sharing a percentage of that with me? And pretty much everybody is open to that. And so I just become partners with all these people. And these are all people that I just have amazing respect and admiration for. And I get to help them by just facilitating these connections like I did for Perry and Brian. We get to do that pretty much on a daily basis around here. And it is so rewarding to see what comes for them and the impact that they get to make just because I'm hooking up with more like-minded people. When you're working with that caliber of people, you can make a big impact in this world for sure.
No doubt about it. Well, Kevin, if anybody wants to get a hold of you and understand more about Tribe for Leaders and work through the networking and get a connection with you, how are they going to do that?
They can go to tribeforleaders.com, or they can hit me up on Facebook. What's crazy is I'm really active on Facebook and not so active on LinkedIn. But they can look me up on Facebook and stuff too, either or.
Excellent. Great. Or you can connect with me as well, and I'll make sure that I get you in front of Kevin. Kevin, any last words of wisdom, things you want to offer today? It's been an amazing conversation. Anything else you want to kind of let us hear as we close up?
Yeah, I'll just leave everybody with this. And this is something I've learned in having so many conversations with so many entrepreneurs. Many times I would like look at entrepreneurs that had done things that were on a bigger scale than I did, that maybe had businesses way bigger than I did. And it would be a little intimidating for me until I discovered that there is not a person on the face of this planet that gets enough appreciation. Everybody wants more appreciation, no matter how successful somebody is, no matter how big their business is, no matter how great things look from the outside looking in. When you show genuine appreciation for somebody else, you will be absolutely amazed at the doors that will open for you, at the conversations you will find yourself in. And so what I want to challenge you to do is, we all got cell phones with people's contact information. That can be business associates. It can be family, friends, what have you. Shoot 10 messages to people and let them know one thing that you genuinely appreciate about them. And don't ask for anything in return. Don't even ask for a response in return. And you watch what happens. And I'll tell you, you use that, and don't look at it as a strategy or a tactic or anything like that. Just let it be who you are. Just let it be who you are, and you watch what happens. You are going to open doors. You are going to start finding yourself in conversations, and now when you're in those conversations, just ask questions and figure out how you can be of service to somebody.
Very well said. Well, you are the epitome of that and you embody it. And I'm so glad that you've come on today to share that with me, because you are the definition of network equals net worth in your story, as well as what you do now. And as I've had relationships with you and you've sent wonderful people to me. And I'm very appreciative of that. And I'm just honored and grateful that you came on to share some of that with me today. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Well, my pleasure, Neil.